What's going on, everybody? So, Fiona Orlander strikes again, prompted another upload with the situation I saw. So, to start, I'll give the details on the situation, kind of a rough breakdown. So, a trans activist named Lena goes and gets on a post that Fiona made on Twitter, and there's some words exchanged, and then Lena starts just straight out intentionally misgendering Fiona. Now, I don't really trip out about misgendering, neither does Fiona, right? Neither one of us do. But the thing that got me about it was the hypocrisy, because it was so hypocritical. The trans movement and the trans activists constantly talk about how harmful it is to trans people. Now, this person is criticizing Fiona for something and then resorts to doing something that they claim is harmful while calling out someone for doing something they claim is harmful. So they're basically doing something they claim is harmful because somebody else is doing something that they don't agree with and they want to call it harmful. It's straight up bullshit. It's hypocritical as hell. So, but that got me into thinking about something else, which is basically called tribalism. Human tribalism. So something about human society, and it's all groups. They tend to, humans instinctively, it's a human instinct to want to be around people with familiar views and to want to be around people where you fit in, which is a good trait. It means people are going to go out and meet people and have a more fulfilling life. Good. But at the same time, that trait leads to certain kinds of tribalism as well, where you'll get to be a part of a group, and there will be members of that group. Sometimes it'll be a small section of them, sometimes it'll be a large section of them, and they will expect people in that group to think the way that they think about every single thing. And if you don't think that way, then you are branded as a traitor. And if you are somebody who is not a part of that group and think differently or don't completely agree, you are branded as the enemy. So, I'll use some examples from my life, for example, right? So, with me being a black man, obviously I grew up around a lot of blacks and things like that. Now, take this experience from my life and just try to identify it with things that you've dealt with in your life. Doesn't even have to be racial, doesn't have to be part of your sex, just friends and social networks you've had, okay? What I'm saying. So if I have some views about issues in the black community that not everybody agrees with, about what certain issues are or what needs to be looked at. One of those being a bit more on the side of personal accountability, but that doesn't always sit well with the people who always want to call themselves victims, because I believe that's another issue too, is there's a certain victimology and people using it as an excuse instead of using their abilities to go forward. All groups have that kind of issue, though, where people who don't agree with that, with them, because that's where I disagree with the group. I labeled as a race traitor, a coon, an Uncle Tom, and it's not just blacks who expect me to think about things that way. Also, it's a part of it being a lot of whites expect it that way here in the U.S., for example. So, here in the U.S., one of the types of racism one of the most racist things I've dealt with, and I deal with this a lot. Ever since 2016, I've dealt with this. As a matter of fact, I dealt with it during Obama as well, even though I was on Obama's side. So I was actually one of the people dishing out this kind of vitriol, actually, and I kind of regret it. I actually regret it a lot, but I learned from it. So, when Obama ran for president, if you were black, you were expected to vote for Obama because he was black. If you were white and you didn't vote for Obama in 2008, you were called a racist. And that's that's just that tribal mindset, because people are like, yeah, you'll have people in groups that believe a certain way. A person may not be racist, but that's a lot of rhetoric that is spoken in these groups that people buy into. That's spoken within these circles and these networks of people, these human tribes, right? So take a look at so for a tribe example, I'm trying to think of a good one. I don't want to use our current politics because that's a mess. I'll use Brexit. We'll take the vote from Brexit, for example. One thing about these human tribes is that Brexit, there was, the pro-Brexit and then anti-Brexit. We'll put them anti-Brexit tribe, pro-Brexit tribe. So, I guarantee you, there were a lot of people that vocally, in public, were anti-Brexit. They were pro-Remain, right? But they did not say how they really felt around other people due to that backlash. And what ends up happening is and a lot of that came from, I saw people getting lashed out. I saw a lot of division over that. Just like there were people that were anti-Brexit, there were people on both sides that wouldn't say what they wanted to say because of backlash. Same thing's been happening here in the U.S. with the current election. And there's a lot of this, that's where a lot of that tribal mindset comes from. So like with the trans movement, for example, with Fionn, right? Dealing with what she dealt with was an example of that. It was the mindset of you're defective, and because you're defective, you're a problem. It doesn't matter if people hurt you because you're a traitor, so you're the enemy. So that's why it bothered me so much, because I've dealt with that treatment my whole life. When I was a child growing to school, I used to get told that I'm trying to be white because I paid attention and actually learned how to speak properly. I got told I was trying to be white. And I was called a race traitor and everything for that. I got told I was trying to be white because I would point out problems around me with what's going on. So, gang issues in the black community, when I was in activism, I was very vocal about the gang issues. I was vocal about the gang issues, I was vocal about the murder rates, the crime rates, because those are prevalent and those are part of the problem. People didn't want to hear that, and I was called a race traitor because they don't like hearing the unfortunate truth. So what is the best way to combat against somebody that's caught up in ideology like that? You listen to them. Listen to them. Let them explain their ideology. Make them explain it. Don't question it in a way that attacks it. Question it in a way that makes them have to justify it, basically. Question them in a way where they have to justify it, but you're not attacking it. And watch them bury themselves, because it will inevitably happen. Ideology itself is not strong. That's why they rely on attacks of people's character. That's why they rely on branding people as traitors and enemies, because they have nothing else. That's why they turn to so much hate. That's why they turn to so much avoidance and just adversarialness, because they have nothing else. And they think that they can intimidate you, or they think that they can bully you into agreeing with them. The concept of free thought does not exist to them. When you are a part of a group, okay, because people expect you to be part of a group, because you're part of what they are, because you're one of them. They don't consider that you are a person with free thought. Just like they are supposed to be a person with free thought. They don't realize you don't have to think as part of a group. They don't realize that you have the right to do whatever you want, say whatever you want, and think whatever you want. If you don't agree with them, you don't have to. If you think that there's something that could be done better than what they're saying, you shouldn't have to be silent for it. So don't. So, Fionn, keep doing what you're doing. Stay strong, okay? Peace.